Smart 24, driving business.
A very warm good evening and welcome to Prime Edition here on Smart 24 TV. My name is Jerome Paul Sonko and we're coming to you live from plot 42 Nile Avenue, opposite Garden City. This is where we are definitely driving your business, and in this particular edition we'll be looking at the biggest headlines that have been making rounds across the country and across the world in regards to business. And kicking it off, the ICT committee members of Parliament have conducted a workshop against counterfeit items under the Anti-Counterfeit Network. Andrew Barije has more of the details.
The Anti-Counterfeit Network is a non-profit organization that works to bridge intervention gaps between those who are affecting and being affected by counterfeits, substandard goods and services, illicit and parallel trade. Committee members of the Parliament in ICT happened to conduct a workshop on the danger of fake phones on market and electronic waste. Moses Magogo, Chairman ICT Committee, has expressed the impact of counterfeit product to the society in various ways.
The reality of the matter is that there are a lot of products that are counterfeit on the market in all areas, but I'll be more specific in ICT.
Most Ugandans fall victims of counterfeits, yet everyone has a right to consume what is genuine. A factor, if not well managed, causes a worry to other sectors like health. Counsel Fred Mwema, Anti-Counterfeit Network Director, Legal and Corporate Affairs, says ICT is being used to promote counterfeit sales and purchases. About 40% of electronics sold online are fake, which in turn has birthed unstable reputation for the sector. Mwema called for a joint partnership amongst the Parliament to ensure that citizens of the nation are protected from counterfeit consumption.
The engagement was to deepen the understanding and appreciation of the issue of counterfeits, especially in the electronics sector. As you heard in the presentation, we have almost 30 million phones in Uganda, but half of them probably are fake. And we think that we should have ICT for development. You can only use communication and technology for development, but it has got to be based on genuine products. So the interaction here was to rally Parliament to be able to be an ally in ensuring that we fight this battle together, because legislation, laws are very important in fighting counterfeits. Whereas there is a call for more stringent laws and punishments, we are saying that even with the existing legal regime, the punishments are not being meted out, the enforcement of the laws is not being done. So we think that this is a stepping stone to help all sectors of government, all arms of government, to appreciate the danger, but also most importantly, this is a continuation of the campaign to inform and empower consumers, because the consumer, all of us are consumers, and the consumer is at the front line of the purchase of fakes.
About $45.3 billion is collected counterfeit materials worldwide. As for Uganda, 29 million mobile phones were sold last year, and 2 million of these phones were fake. Honorable Nathan Igeme Nabeta, Deputy Chairperson, Information Communications Technology Committee, says counterfeit products have frustrated business operations and called on for the enforcement of legal framework by the responsible agencies.
The fake products on the market are very critical for business because, one, they kill the incentives for those who are actually doing the right thing, those who are bringing the quality products that actually would help our people. Our people are losing out by actually having to buy fake products, which most of the time they are not safe. Number two, they are not long lasting. And number three, they are environmentally dangerous to those who consume them. So we want, one, the legal framework is there, but I think one of the things is enforcement. So we need to appeal to the enforcement agencies to be able to ensure that we're able to separate the fake products from those which are not, which are genuine. But of course, sometimes the capacities are not there for enforcement agencies to understand the difficulty. How do you know a Samsung which is original and one which isn't? So there we shall also need UCC to be able to employ the technologies available now to be able to ensure that the fake phones which are brought into the market are not operational, so that all the communication devices which are being brought to Uganda cannot be operational. So that will help our people to be able to acquire more durable, more genuine products for their use in Uganda. So when you have people who are bringing fake things into the market, they disorganize the people who are doing the right thing, and that causes a big problem.
The rise of imported counterfeit products on the market, ranging from cosmetics, computers and many others, is being blamed on profiteers.
That's Andrew Berige for you. And now the journey to end counterfeit still continues in Uganda, and we do hope it truly comes to an end in the country. Besides that, as we move on to the other story, the Minister for Northern Uganda, Grace Freedom, has proposed that Northern Uganda Social Action Fund for program will cost $250 million US, which is more than the NUSAF of 130, which is more than the NUSAF 3 of $130 million, meant to help 39% of the people in Northern Uganda. Let's have more of this story.
While addressing the media, Grace Freedom Kwiyu Chwini, Minister in charge of Northern Uganda, gave a report on the performance of the social fund, NUSAF, which concluded in June last year with positive results.
I think that out of the many groups we reached, there is positive impact. And this also helped the communities to know and to understand the processes involved in implementing development program. We had, as a matter of priority, we had to train community leaders, community groups to be vigilant and engage them in detecting corruption tendencies.
The minister says there are a number of challenges that were encountered during this development program.
The challenges encountered include the fact that the poverty rate in northern Uganda is still high. The national poverty indices in Uganda is now 20.3%, but we still have high prevalence in northern Uganda. According to the UBOS statistics of 2019-2020, Acholi region still has high poverty indices at 67.7%, Lango has 22.4%, Karamoja has 65.7%, West Nile has 16.9%, Bukedi has 34%, Busoga has 29.4%, Elgon has 13.2%. Teso has 21.9%, and Bunyoro has 9.8%. I have mentioned all these sub-regions because this is where Northern Uganda Social Action Fund projects were being implemented.
Grace explained some of the reasons for the high level of poverty in Acholi.
The reasons for this poverty increase is relying on traditional farming methods with rudimentary tools, lack of agro-processing and minimal value addition, natural disasters like drought, like floods, like landslides, limited financial services and low access to investment capital, negative mindset, and too much reliance on tradition and customs practices, and low innovation like adoption of new crops, post-harvest handling practices, among others.
Grace said that despite the achievements that this development has made, Northern Uganda should be given a chance to implement NUSAF 4.
Despite the achievements we have, we think that we should give Northern Uganda an opportunity to implement NUSAF 4. And we think that NUSAF 4 should be one of the programs, maybe to help us nail the coffin of poverty. So the program will be run in the same regions I have already given, and we think that this will help government to consolidate on the interventions that have already been done and good lessons learned.
The people of northern Uganda made some recommendations towards the program like National Single Registry.
We are consulting at the end of the program. The people recommended that there should be more investment in economic production infrastructure, agro-processing and value addition. As you will realize, if you take northern Uganda compared to the south, there are less factories in northern Uganda. There are only 8% of all the factories of the country in northern Uganda. They also recommended that we have to mainstream transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption measures, which were being supported by the Office of Inspector General of Government. We should also take up a national single beneficiary registry so that we take note and track of all people who have benefited. We met these challenges of where some people benefited more than others. A program comes, they are the first to benefit, leaving the real beneficiaries behind. So that is when, together with the Ministry of Gender, we thought that we should have this national single beneficiary registry to avoid duplication, but also to help us reach as many people as possible.
During the implementation of NUSAF 3, Grace said that the amount of money was inadequate and so proposed to increase on the amount of money to $250 million during the implementation of NUSAF 4.
The amount of money we worked with in NUSAF 3 was not very adequate, and it made us spread very thin on the ground. We had $130 million, but in NUSAF 4 we are proposing that we could increase this amount of money to $250 million so that we can have a better impact on the ground. And in this, we are going to collaborate and work together with the parish development model so that we can reach the 39% poor people.
Furthermore, the minister said that the proposed focus during the implementation of the program is the 39% of...
Sounds of Andrew Berige. And on the same matter that we're actually heading up into the business news, we turn our eyes to domestic tourism. If you do remember very well, in 2019, it was, I would say, the highest rate of tourists that were recorded in the country. But coming forth 2020, we were hit by the pandemic, which made it quite difficult for us to actually push for foreign tourism in the country. In the last 2 years, it has seen the rise of domestic tourism in the country. And as a matter of fact, a number of domestic tourism companies have been set up. These particular ones have been centered around the youth, the young people out there who are actually trying as much as they can to engage in tourism activities by exploring Uganda. Just like the new hashtag for Uganda Tourism Board, the Explore Uganda. Brand new hashtags were pushed: Uganda is home or Uganda Waka. All those were pushed by tourism. And on this regard, Uganda is endowed with a wide range of tourism resources, including biodiversity, varied landscapes, and cultural and religious heritage. Well, Uganda has been intricately linked to the country. When you look at tourism, has been greatly intrigued to the country's natural history as exploration, trade, and colonial history since the 19th century. Gloria Mbabazi has the details of this report.
Tourist expenditure in Uganda dropped threefold in the year 2020. A total of $1.60 billion was spent by tourists in Uganda in 2019, compared to $0.44 billion spent in the year ending December. During the pandemic, a number of local tourism companies grew and have pushed the idea of domestic tourism among the youth. We caught up with the CEO of Tripadix, Ibrahim Kayondo, who were awarded the Best Domestic Tourism Company Award at the inaugural Jans Awards 2021, who revealed during the year 2021, most tourists were locals who embraced the idea.
2021 was a real good one when it comes to embracing domestic tourism in Uganda, and particularly when it comes to Tripadix, it was a whole awesome year, fantastic year, where we are recognized as the best tour company This time around, not even only the youth, the best tour company in Uganda by the Janzi Awards. So basically, last year was embraced by people in Uganda domestically when it comes to traveling, when it comes to embracing their own in terms of domestic tourism. So I would like to say last year was a very good one.
Kayondo says that there is a slight change in domestic tourism, which has forced the youth to yearn for different destinations in Uganda.
Personally, I do look at domestic tourism, of which I again subdivide it in two categories. I look at youth-oriented domestic tourism. Now, with youth, of course, you just don't make them, you know what, there's what entices them to love something. And these are the vibes, like one asked me here. So, of course, ours is the vibes-oriented youth domestic tourism. Yeah, I would like to say there's a little bit of entertainment in there.
Previously, at a presser held at the Uganda Media Center, an initiative was launched to promote domestic tourism, and the State Minister for Tourism, Martin Mugara, said this is an initiative that will create inclusive growth for everyone to help Uganda's tourism to grow.
Of course, I think this is a very important campaign that is to do with making travel, tourism for the Africans easier amongst themselves. Like Barbara said, it's still a challenge. If you look at the price of an air ticket within the African countries, if you're moving amongst them, it's more expensive than actually going to Europe and back. So I think it's important that these things are addressed, and I want to thank the organizers, because the importance of this campaign is to create awareness for the policymakers, for everyone that matters, to make it easy for everyone to travel, especially amongst with the Africans. So I think it's a good idea, and it resonates with what His Excellency the President has been preaching. You know, he has been a Pan-Africanist, and he has been preaching remove of barriers so that there can be free trade, free movement of the African people within the African continent. So I think it's a good idea, and it still goes hand in hand with the government policy, or the policy of the government of Uganda as uniting Africa and the region is concerned, so as to benefit amongst each other, not necessarily relying on the foreign market alone.
Martin Mugara also thanked and implored Ugandans to continue with their support for domestic tourism.
Without thanking the Ugandans, I still want to encourage you. She was giving you figures that October, November, December, almost, we can round it off to 80,000 people went to the protected areas. Now, I'm not talking about those that went to Kalangala. I'm not talking about the ones that went to Bunyonyi. I'm not talking about the ones that went to the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. I'm only saying those that we recorded that entered our parks. And we know so many Ugandans travel for different reasons, not only the parks. But you can imagine in those 3 months, we had almost 80,000. In the month of December alone, we had around almost 41,000 people that traveled to the parks. And like she said, of course, we classify them as East Africans, but Ugandans make up the big number. So we still had almost over 50% of people that went to the parks being Ugandans. And we made a lot of money. Hotel owners made a lot of money. Our young people had business. The locals sold food. Because this is, travel is something that impacts everyone, from the hotel owner to the lowest common man down there. So I want to thank the Ugandans for traveling. I want to thank the East Africans for traveling. The reason why we are here, like we said, I think our biggest market is Kenya. They also get so many Ugandans from us going to Kenya to enjoy. But I know once we open up, we remove these bottlenecks in place, then it will be easy. Travel will get cheaper, and we shall enjoy each other's cultures, the food, and the rest. And of course, I want to congratulate UTB on launching the brand. You know, now we have a new brand, the Explore Uganda campaign. And for we, the Ugandans, the message is, the slogan is, what is uniquely ours as Uganda? So I still want to implore the Ugandans, please travel this country, please enjoy it. The infrastructure is very good. I keep saying this, that even with the small VITs, if you're 4 people and you shared fuel, you need 20,000 to go to Makshon and back. And if you're to enter the park, of course, the prices have gone down now.
According to figures from the World Travel and Tourism Council, the direct impact of tourism expenditures in Uganda amounted to 3.1% of gross domestic product in 2019 before the pandemic, compared to Tanzania's 4.8%, Kenya's 5.0%, and Madagascar's 5.7%. Nonetheless, tourism in Uganda is showing great promise for the future.
Well, that aside, and still speaking of tourism, Now, we all know the crested crane. Still in our childhood days, the crested crane was referred to as the national emblem. Oh, it is still the national emblem still. But did you know that this symbolic bird has to be protected at all costs? With this, the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities has warned people against killing the national symbolic bird, the crested cranes. And if you don't follow this, you are likely to face lifetime imprisonment, or better yet, 20 billion fines. Let's have a look at the details.
George Owoyesgire, the Deputy Director, Conservation Uganda Wildlife Authority, made it clear that people who will be found killing the crested cranes will face a lifetime imprisonment or pay a fine of 20 billion shillings.
The crested crane, like the Honorable Minister said, is our national bird and it's endangered. So it's one of those that are listed under the list of species that are endangered or threatened. And because of that, the Wildlife Act 2019 accords it special protection. And if you kill it, you are supposed to be subjected to, of course, courts of procedures under the courts of law. And the punishment could be life imprisonment or 20 billion or both, if the magistrate doesn't sympathize and treat you with soft hands. So that's how bad it is, including the gorillas and the elephants. So we need to really work hard to protect this very important bird.
Tom Butime, Minister for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, says an event has been organized to take place in Lwengo on 28th February for residents to appreciate the importance of the crested crane and stop killing it.
There will be any other country which will have this. 53.9% gorillas of the entire world are in Uganda. And I'm talking about mountain gorillas. 11% of the world's recorded species of birds, which is 50% of Africa's bird species richness. 8% of the global mammal diversity, which is 39% of Africa's mammal richness, and 19% of Africa's amphibian species richness, and 14% reptile species richness, and 1,249 recorded species of butterflies in the entire world. The theme, therefore, recovering key species for ecosystem restoration, draws attention to the critical role that keystone species of plants and animals, many of which are threatened or endangered, play in ensuring ecosystem health and human survival. It highlights the need to protect and conserve critically endangered species, support restoration of their habitat and ecosystems, and promote sustainable utilization of humans. It calls for the need to recognize the ecological roles played by key species. For instance, elephants are very important for maintaining the structures of savannas. Then there are bees, pollinators such as bees. They maintain the gene flow of dispersal. Well, I think really we all come from rural areas and you know the role a bee plays in your village, in my village, about the spreading of the pollination of the area where we come from. Vegetation is the foundation of the complex interrelationship in an ecosystem. Loss of plant species may lead to the loss of animal species. As a result, these special relationships have to be maintained if we are to enhance ecosystem resilience and survival of mankind. Due to enhanced integrity of protected areas arising from political stability and associated sustained security, there has been general increase in wildlife population in Uganda. For example, in 1983, between 1983 and 2021, buffaloes have increased from a mere 25,000, and today we have 44,163 buffaloes, from 25,000 to 44,000, because of stability and environment created for the buffaloes to multiply. Elephants, which were a mere 2,000, we now have 7,975 elephants. The giraffes from 350 to 2,072. Similarly, mountain gorillas have increased from 320 to 459 between 1999 and 2022. Government has been able to successfully reintroduce the rhino back to Uganda, which has been extinct in the early 1980s. The initial population of eight rhino has successfully now bred and multiplied to the current population of 32 rhinos in Uganda, from 8 to 32, from extinction to 8 to 32. However, more effort is required to recover declining populations such as chimpanzees and lions. We particularly need to address poaching, habitat loss, retaliatory killings, and climate change effects among the threats. This year, a number of activities have been organized to celebrate that event of the 3rd of March this year. There has been a conservation conference on combating wildlife crime. This event has already taken place between the 8th and the 9th February. The second event is going to be a crested cranes festival on the 28th of February in Kaikolongo.
All right, now with that, we are heading into the international scene to check out what is happening from the world of business, and also we're going to be looking at the sports news to see what is happening from in there.
Smart 24, driving business.
From the international scene, we travel to Europe as the European Union and the African Union heads of states had held a meeting in Brussels aimed to completely boost the EU-Africa relationship, according to President Emmanuel Macron of France. Let's have more of this report.
The key issues discussed at the summit include the waiver of patents on COVID-19 vaccines demanded by African countries to help increase production on the continent and help assure supplies migration. The key issues discussed at the summit include the waiver of patents on COVID-19 vaccines demanded by African countries to help increase production on the continent and help assure supplies migration and allocation of special drawing rights. The European Union describes its aims as building a new partnership between Africa and Europe based on the unique relationship between the two continents in all sectors, cement principles for the future partnership between Africa and Europe, mutual respect of African sovereignty, solidarity, security, sustainability, transparency, and materialism, and expedite quick recovery beyond the pandemic to promote prosperity and sustainable growth in Africa and Europe through transformative projects and by harnessing the potential of the partnership, including the context of the green and digital transitions. European Union and African Union heads of state government will participate alongside. The European Union also intends to promote an ambitious large-scale investment package in Africa. In December, as the French President Macron laid out his program on the European Union, which began on 1st January, he made it plain that the relations with Africa would play an important role. Since the beginning of his time in office as President of France, he has made the relationship with Africa a priority and deeply believes that the relationship between the two continents, which border both sides of the Mediterranean, is a major political and geopolitical project for decades ahead. He held out the prospect of reforming an economic and financial deal with Africa, saying that Europe wanted to establish a genuine system of peace, prosperity, and build investments in African economies and build a shared future. The relationship, he said, is based on various themes, which include reforming an economic and financial deal with Africa as Africa grapples with €300 billion debt in the coming years due to the COVID-19, leading to reallocation of International Monetary Fund special drawing rights to African countries, setting a health, education and climate agenda that is equal to the challenges Africa faces. Europe will pursue initiatives on girl education, train teachers and develop education structures across Africa, pursue a health agenda with a much faster and stronger deployment of vaccine production in Africa, and support Africa's energy and climate transition through initiatives such as the Great Green Wall. Security is also among the themes discussed. In the face of growing security threats, especially in the Sahel, France hopes to Europeanize its existing defense commitments to Africa in order to build a true Africa-Europe security partnership to tackle terrorism, migration. Addressing the question of mobility, the president expressed the hope of creating an agenda that would combat people trafficking in the Mediterranean and fight the hardship that it exploits. He said that it would help to build a better future for African youth and permit chosen migrations, whether for academic, scientific or cultural purposes. The European Union wants to establish a genuine system of peace and prosperity to build investments in African economies and build this shared future, says, stating that the agenda had been developed in successive meetings with African colleagues over the previous months and that the preparations would continue until the summit.
My producer got me right. The meeting is in Brussels. Now, they initially said city. Well, away from that, let's talk sports now, as it's heading to the international sport as we're summing up with the Prime Edition tonight. The WBC has created a British-themed union belt for the winner of the upcoming world title fight between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, due to happen on 23rd April 2022. And when we look at the sum up of the story, also in tonight's sports, we shall also be looking at the English Premier League, as the battle for the top 4 places in the English Premier League resumes this weekend with 10 fixtures that will happen, with early kickoff between West Ham and Newcastle. Arsenal will be hosting Brentford, Aston Villa taking on Watford, Brighton plays Burnley, as Crystal Palace will host Chelsea in the London Derby. Liverpool will furthermore take on Norwich City, and this is all being brought by Hudson Chigozie in the sports.
The battle for the top 4 places in the English Premier League resumes this weekend with 10 fixtures. The early kickoff game is between West Ham and Newcastle. Arsenal will host Brentford. Aston Villa takes on Watford. Brighton plays Burnley. Crystal Palace will host Chelsea in the London Derby. Liverpool takes on Norwich City. Southampton plays Everton. While the day's big game will see Manchester City hosting Tottenham Hotspurs at the Etihad Stadium. Sunday action will see Leeds United hosting Manchester City, and Wolverhampton Wanderers are expected to play Leicester City. The World Boxing Council has created a British-themed union belt for the winner of the upcoming world title fight between Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, due on 23rd April 2022. WBC heavyweight champion Fury will make the second title defense of his belt against interim title holder Whyte.
All right, it's been a ride with you tonight from 9 p.m. This is Prime Edition. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. Add us up on our social media platforms, Smart24 TV, from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more engagements regarding business. The website is www.smart24tv.com, and you can still subscribe to our YouTube channel by following and liking all the details regarding videos that you might have missed, news headlines, news reports, as well as exclusive interviews, all on Smart24 TV. Like I said, mine is to drive your business. Add me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at Joram Paul Sonko. You can use the hashtag JPLive on Twitter. Till then, this has been Prime Edition, and we shall definitely do it tomorrow. It's a goodbye.
Smart 24, driving business.